Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. You're in for a treat, a social media treat. We have our Director of Digital Media for City Current with us, Andrew Bartolotta. We're going to dive into the 10 ways small businesses and nonprofits can maximize their social media presence. So let's start out. Andrew, how are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
So it's always fun to have you come on because you are the guru behind the scenes. Anytime anybody sees City Current out there, our hashtags, our handles, everything that we do on social media, you are bringing all that to life. So social media, content creation is your world. But let's go ahead and dive in and start with the why. So when you talk about social media, why should small businesses, why should nonprofits focus on social media? Let's start there.
Well, I think specifically through the past year and now that we're in this state, I think the pandemic has really forced businesses and nonprofits to think creatively to draw audiences. And we've seen it through their virtual events, curbside pickup, family meal offerings, and socially distanced activities. But if your business is not on social media, I guarantee you've taken a major hit to your revenue the past year and through now. But the good news is it's not too late. So we'll share some steps today that'll really help maximize your engagement online and help bring in your favorite customers that maybe haven't seen you in a while, but also new customers and clients if you're a nonprofit as well.
I think that's an easy way to look at it is when you talk about the pandemic and being at home and not being able to really go out and live life in a normal way and how that relates to restaurants, retail, but also nonprofits and small businesses. If you're not online, you're missing out the opportunity to remain connected, to drive business and have those conversations that build momentum so that as things do get back to normal, you can take advantage of them. So to your point, while you may have missed out, it's never too late. And so you can dive in. And this is here to stay. Social media is here to stay and becoming even more important. Talk about some of the stats that when you look at engagement rates, when you look at some of the things that you're focused on, what tells that story in terms of statistics that you can see that are kind of setting these trends?
Yeah, absolutely. So social media really is the next best thing to doing business in person. And while we're still practicing social distancing and, meeting in small crowds of people, small groups of people, social media usage, it continues to rise. Facebook users are spending 23% more time on the site compared to that same time period in the previous year. And Twitter has seen a 45% increase in usage. But Instagram, as you know, has really materialized as the top social media platform during this period. And they're offering some really cool ways for small businesses to take advantage of their online social media content with sticker features for small businesses and ways to have your content show to more people through different shop local initiatives. So there are some great tools that small businesses and nonprofits can use during this time that those social media companies are really helping leverage and expand their audiences.
I've talked and even on the air about just the analytics for cityCURRENT, and you talk about just massive rates going through the roof in terms of the YouTube videos, the viewage rates, whatever the word is there, the viewage, the viewership. But when you look at those opportunities there, the engagement for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, like you said, they're all skyrocketing and those will continue to climb. For businesses and nonprofits, tasked with obviously the day-to-day operations and trying to manage everything that's on their plate and then do social media, it's a lot. So what are your recommendations on just where to start, especially for those who haven't started yet? Where should they start?
Sure. So I've had everyone from trucking companies to small businesses, restaurants, nonprofits reach out to me over the past year and a half and say, I just don't have time. The sheer amount of social media advice out there is overwhelming, and I just don't know how to get started. So here are a few just short tips to help you get started. One is knowing your audience. Start by determining who your customers are. You can look at a lot of your point of sale systems will provide you with some great demographics and analytics to help share any purchase history, identifying the most popular items you may have, and really help you create customer personas that you can draw from for social media. Another tip is to choose the right platform. A lot of people ask me, "Oh, I don't know how to work Instagram, or I don't know where I should be on, and I don't know how to post on 6 different social media platforms in a day." You don't have to. You don't have to. So choose the right platform when it comes to your audience. Cherry pick 2 or 3 that you feel comfortable focusing on. And these will depend on your business and audience. And like Instagram has a much younger audience than Facebook. So if your customers lean more towards younger, then Instagram may be one of the social media platforms that you choose. But choosing the right platforms are key as well to not feel overwhelmed. And then lastly, make the most out of your niche with the presence of being on those social media brands, and research your competition, knowing who's doing what out there, and find the gaps in the market, find creative ways that your competition isn't really using social media and are doing it well, and then figure out how you can jump in and gain that audience that they're not really engaging with.
Yeah, knowing your audience, looking at your competitors and what platforms they're on, how they're using social media, that's a great start. And I agree, not every platform is right for every business or nonprofit. And if you are in a visual business, if you're selling something or food or any of those where a picture is worth 1,000 words, then Instagram is a great fit. If you are doing things that require a lot of narration of words, of stories, of links, Twitter, Facebook might be better. Obviously, LinkedIn is good for everyone too. So I think there's pluses and minuses with each platform. And now you're seeing Clubhouse, which is more of a podcasting and audio. So there's definitely places to meet your consumers where they are, or your donors, or your constituents. At the same time, you need to leverage each strength of the platform and see if it's right for you or not. Talk about on your end, when you look at the strategy and laying out a strategy, one, just why that's so important. And you and I in the past have talked about editorial calendars and some of those, but talk about strategy, why it's so important, and then give me maybe 1 or 2 of your favorite tips related to strategy.
Sure. So for one, it really holds you accountable of what you're supposed to do. And Jeremy, you know this just from working with me. The week goes by so fast. Here we may be at the weekend and realize that a lot of the content we decided to post throughout the week may have not been posted because of just the sheer amount of work that gets in the way, which is what we were talking about earlier. So social media strategy will really drive your efforts and help you create a social media presence that suits your business and resources with your buyers. And it helps you by establishing your goals and encourages you to set up a social media calendar like we talked about. You can do that through a scheduling software like Sendable, which I'll talk about, or you can just use it with Microsoft Excel or just a Word doc that just lists out what you're going to post and when. And it forces you to run a social media audit on your top performing posts to really understand what your audience is looking for.
Yeah, and I think, just having a game plan like anything is so important. And just if you're a nonprofit, look at all the different stories you can tell. So your those who you serve, your consumers, getting their stories of impact, talking about your programs, your effort, talking about your donors, getting those stories. When you start stepping back and saying, okay, what are all the stories I have to tell? Or as a business, the same thing. What are all the things that I have to activate on? What are my calls to action? And then building out so that okay, these are the things that I want to accomplish every single week, every single month. Like you said, then you have your goals, and then you can map it out accordingly of, okay, am I hitting my goals? Do I need to change my strategy? But just like anything, having a strategy is really key to success. Go ahead and let's dive in, because you have a ton of tips. And so let's dive in to these, and we'll try to knock out all 10 if we can. But starting out, leveraging hashtags. So talk about hashtags.
Sure. So get your pen and paper ready because we're going to really go fast on this. And the great thing about being a podcast or radio show is that you can pause it and go back. So leverage hashtags. Consider tagging your location, like hashtag Nashville, if you that's where your location is, or your audience, like foodie, if you're a restaurant, your products, like gift ideas, if you're a home decor or gift small business. And don't just throw a load of hashtags on your post and hope for the best. Really interact with other brands and start conversations, like post with hashtags that match your business or nonprofit. So that's really the way to leverage your hashtags.
Where can you learn about the popular hashtags? I think that's something that people struggle with a lot is, do I just, make them up? Do I do popular ones? Do I do not? What's the science behind some hashtags?
Yeah, I would say number one, look at your competitors and see what they're putting out there. Because if your competitors are using hashtags, a lot of your larger businesses that have huge teams of social media content managers, then they know their stuff. And if they're using specific hashtags for a campaign that's similar to yours, go ahead and use those. Another way, this sounds a little cheesy, but just Google hashtags in your industry and see what popular ones pop up. Sometimes you may not think of them if it's real estate, and then you may forget to put realtor, and maybe people search more realtor than real estate or luxury listing. So there's a lot of different ways to do that.
And there is, on Instagram, especially when you start typing in the hashtag, it'll pull up the word and how many are using it. And there is a science behind that because you don't want to use, you have 30 and Instagram, for instance, is the limit. You don't want to go over and use all the ones that are like millions if you don't have millions of followers because you'll get lost in the shuffle. At the same time, you don't want to use one that only has like 1,000. So there is a science for sure around choosing the right hashtags, like you said, and all of that is just, once again, back to strategy. Spend some time on it, but just leverage the power of hashtags. Talk about pointing out your location. So talk about location.
Yeah, location is key when it comes to small businesses. Really, many small businesses are local treasures in the community, and their audience needs to be close to home. So, being able to shout your location and put that in your post on Facebook, on Instagram, being able to share your location will help people search. And one study showed that posts with a location tag receive 79% more engagement than posts without any. So, any post that I do, I try to add a location because it really does help.
Yeah, smart. I like that. Post user generated content. So we're on number 3. We'll take these as the top 10. So number 3, post user generated content.
All right, this kind of content is far more compelling than branded content. A study showed that 92% of consumers trust user generated content more than any other form of advertising, while 90% of shoppers say that user generated content is the most influential part of their purchase decision. So you can handpick customer reviews to share on social media, encourage customers to share photos of your products or services, share social posts that include your brand and products. And that's really the best ways to post user generated content.
Number 4, use strong visuals.
Yes, you know me well, Jeremy, when it comes to visuals. I love a good brand and I love consistent brand colors and feels, and Canva does it like no other. You want your post to be scroll stoppingly captivating, and social media is a crowded place. So having those strong visuals help people see your content and engage with it. So don't feel like you have to hire graphic designers or spend thousands of dollars on strong visuals. I think it is important to hire photographers to capture your products or services and really have a bank of resources, and then use products like Canva that are super affordable and or free depending on what you're looking for to create posts with your brand colors, fonts, and then some of those photos that you may have hired a photographer for.
And so canva.com, canva.com is the website that Andrew is talking about. Number 5, engage with your audience.
Sure. 21% of shoppers follow a brand on social media, especially to communicate with them. And they want to build a relationship with the people they're buying from, especially now when human connection is more important than ever. So, on top of this, customers that connect and engage with brands on social media are more likely to become your loyal ambassadors. So, engaging with your audience, don't just make it a monologue, make it a dialogue. A lot of people, I I help with one nonprofit that is a healthcare organization, and they receive messages all the time on Facebook. And if they didn't respond to those messages on Facebook, they wouldn't have donors, they wouldn't have patients, they wouldn't have their nonprofit. So remembering all of the messaging functionalities on, direct messaging on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, have someone champion someone on your team to read those and research them and respond to those people that are reaching out to that to help gain loyal ambassadors.
Number 6, make use of social features.
Sure. So I talked about this earlier, and Instagram is doing this really well. Every platform has a suite of features for small businesses to tap into, ranging from the stories on Instagram and Facebook. It seems like now Twitter too. They all have stories, that 24-hour functionality where it'll disappear after a day, to reels and shoppable posts. Leveraging these features provide a mixture of content for customers to browse and help you connect with shoppers in different ways. And studies have shown that if you use the latest features on these platforms, you will organically see a larger reach to your audience. So use reels, even, just have fun with it. You don't have to worry about being stuffy when it comes to social media. People like that engaging thing. So make sure you use some of those social features.
Number 7, mix up your content.
Yes. So think about incorporating videos, infographics, animations into the mix to inform and delight your audience. Don't just make it status updates of text or just a photo. Research shows that videos are one of the most popular forms of content on social media. That's a no-brainer when you look at YouTube. Look at all the content that we share on cityCURRENT, it's videos. So sprinkle them throughout your strategy where possible.
Number 8, constantly tweak and optimize.
Yes. So a social media presence, a solid one, doesn't happen overnight. It takes years to mold it and build it and fit your brand and resonate best with your buyers, customers, patients, what have you. The secret lies into continuing to tweak and test, experiment to determine what kind of content works best for you, what time of day your audience is most likely to interact, how you can best drive results through your strategy and campaigns. Look at the free resources on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at the analytics, and you can see your demographic, and it might be different than those who walk into your store or restaurant, and you can sort of fit that content for them.
Yeah, looking at the analytics will help you tremendously in terms of when they're engaging. It gives you everything, the profile, the time of day. So there's so much there just based on the analytics that you can use to your advantage. Number 9, automate the process.
Yes, it's easy to get sucked into social media for hours every day without producing anything of value. So we save time and energy at cityCURRENT by using one of my favorite tools, Sendable, and they will help you schedule posts in advance, and you can collaborate with team members. You can basically build out that editorial calendar that we were talking about before, and they offer suggested posts in your industry. They share different hashtags and analytics. Sendable is my number one tool that we use. There's also tools like Hootsuite, Sprout Social that can do that for you as well.
And then number 10, share stories and behind the scenes.
People want to connect with brands and humanize the brand. And we see that all the time. We see it with cereal companies. We see it with restaurants. We see it with, there's so many examples online. People want the humanizing aspect, and you need to give that to them. So showing behind the scenes content, glimpses of sneak peeks of what's to come. If you are a goods and services company, or even a restaurant, show daily specials or what's upcoming. We use behind the scenes to show stuff about our upcoming guests on our different media, as well as some of our partner content as well. And it really helps build that solid relationship through brand storytelling.
Give us one last bit of either words of encouragement, inspiration, or guidance as we wrap up.
I think so many of us feel overwhelmed when we look at social media, or we feel that there may be a negative connotation with media or the social media profiles, and it is what you make it. And if you want more positive media and you want to share the good things that are happening, then you have to do that. and it's your responsibility to do that and help share other people doing it. So we're doing it here at City Current. We inspire others to do the same, and we hope that you will utilize social media for the good of the whole community through sharing content both in your restaurant, nonprofit, or throughout your community.
Very well said. So wrap up with contact information. Where can everyone go to learn more about cityCURRENT, but also to just you personally?
All right. So you can go to citycurrent.com. You can follow us at citycurrent on any of the social media platforms. You can follow myself, Andrew Bartolotta, at Andrew JPG. That's Andrew JPEG on any of the social media platforms. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're happy to answer them for you.
Absolutely. Well, you talked about engagement, and you are the man that makes sure that we are engaging, and you do a very good job of that. So, Andrew, thank you for all you do, your words of wisdom as well. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.